All right, everyone. In the last video, we took a floor patch panel that was purchased, and I showed you how to get it rough cut into an area of the vehicle that needs rust repair. This video, I'm going to show you how to fine tune that panel, how to get it cut down without sacrificing too much material. It does require some patience, but with a little bit of knowledge, you can still knock some time off how to do it. What we are going to do this time is get this panel fitting nice and tight, so that I can weld it off camera. Again, trying not to bore you guys, but more so get to the point and show you how this stuff's done in a normal everyday setting. Most of these panels, most of these videos, you see me MIG. Later on, we'll get into some TIG stuff. I don't know if you guys want to see welding tips or tricks. There's a million videos of that stuff on the internet, but if you want me to do it, I'll show you what I know there. But I just feel there's so much welding videos on the internet. I'm better suited to just kind of show you guys how to get the actual work done. So what we're going to do now is we're going to jump under the truck, that panel that we rough fit. I'm going to show you how to start cutting that panel down and to tweak it so that it fits exactly how you want, so that when you get ready to do that final cut in, it goes in like a glove. You get a great finished product for yourself that's long lasting. So let's jump in it. We're going to crawl under the truck. I'm going to grab a paint pen and we're going to get after it. All right, the important thing to remember when you're under here and you're looking at your new panel is you've got to remember where you are oriented. Meaning, this is a ledge designed by the manufacturer, in this case Ford, for the panel to sit on. So you don't need to necessarily mark here because we're not cutting anything over here. The panel needs to ride over here and it'll get spot welded from the top. So we don't need to mark anything there or up along here. However, here, this is where my dimmer switch sits, and it's a different shape on the truck versus the panel I purchased. So I left it on the truck. It wasn't rusted. It's dirty as all get out, but it's not rusted. So I'm gonna cut this out of the new panel, right? Go up past, this is the cab mount section that's left. I'll hop on the other side of the frame here, and we're going to go up and around the footwell and all around here, and this is the back area of the footwell. So I'm going to make a guideline here with our paint pen. Now keep in mind, this mark is not where I'm actually going to cut. I'm going to cut just on this other side and leave an excess amount, because again, like I told you in that short, when we're cutting in the panel, that's when we make these panels actually fit for the final time. So I'm just making a guideline here so I know where not to cut past. And I'll leave, a half inch or whatever, give myself a good bit of material to work with. And that's gonna give us a nice tight fit when we go to weld these panels on. This is a panel we did a while back. We have not obviously finished this side of it. We've been working on the top side. There's the other floor. We've still got to lift this cab and finish everything that we're doing now. So, and again, I'll go through all of how to finish this stuff, how to coat it and make it last forever, at least as long as you own it, in future videos. But for right now, we're going to plug away on this. And so we're just going to make our guideline all the way around. And I guess now might be a good time to tell you why I butt weld rather than lap weld. And I'm going to pop up over the truck after I mark this, and I'll go over that with you real quick. Okay, lap welding versus butt welding 101. This is going to be a crash course. I'm not going to go into too much detail because I've got other videos that I plan to make on the topic, but I told you guys I'd explain it to you. So when you are talking about joining panels, you can lap weld, which is where you take panel A, panel B, and they lap over each other. You usually buy a ½ inch or an inch, and then you'll either plug weld with a bunch of plug welds, or you'll stitch weld each side, and then you'll seam seal and prep the panels in other ways. The other way of joining is a butt weld. You're going to take the panels, and they're going to butt up against each other like so, and you're going to weld this seam. This allows you to dress both sides of the panel. You're going to end up with essentially turning two panels into one. When it's dressed properly, There's not a whole lot of metalwork left at the end. Of course, this requires you to take your time in preparation of the panels, which I'm showing you, and to weld carefully and slowly so as to not warp things. So there's advantages to both. Again, I'll cover the advantages to each and the disadvantages to each, when and where I choose to use them and why. But I wanted to give you a quick crash course if you didn't know what the two types of panel mating type joints are and why I choose to use the butt weld. The biggest reason for the butt weld for me is future corrosion prevention. When you weld this, you're making two panels into one at a butt weld, and there's nowhere for the water to get stuck other than anywhere you might have a porous weld, which again, if you take your time, you shouldn't end up with any of that. With lap welding, you've got a seam here and a seam here. And no matter how you weld these, unless you're going to take the time to weld 100% both sides, which is a lot of heat and a lot of time, and even then, you've got two chances for water to get inside these. And as you can see, two panels don't always end up perfectly flat. You can get water and other different corrosive things trapped in there, and it's going to speed up the corrosion and rusting process. So I use butt welds whenever possible. That's going to give me a longer lasting repair. Granted, it takes longer to do the repair when you're butt welding, but I believe that it gives you a better result. So we're going to get back to work now on this floor pan. I just wanted to give you a crash course, but I will do a video just on the types of welds, when to use them and stuff like that. But I'm trying my best not to bore you guys. Let's get back to it and get back on the... So as you can see, here's the mark we made. Here's my shears, and you see I'm cutting about a 1/2 inch from this line. I'll show you why once I get this cut out all the way around all nice, and I'll set the panel back over the hole, and I'll show you why. Any time you remove material, doesn't matter how big or small, you're going to change the way that a panel fits, especially if you've got any of these curved or rounded edges like a floor pan has absolutely everywhere. Anytime you move any of that material, it's going to sit slightly different. So you don't want to just take everything out at once. If you do that, at some point, you're going to fall victim to stuff that I've already done. That's why I'm sharing this stuff. Is you cut it all out, you think you're good, you got to set it in the hole, and just bloop right through the hole. So doing it this way, this just is a little bit of insurance so that you don't at least do that immediately. So I'm going to keep hand trimming this. Once it's done, I'm going to set it in the hole, and I'll show you what it fits like, and I'll show you in this case what we need to do next. Keep in mind, every panel is going to be slightly different, but I am going to give you, basic guidelines as I know them. So I'm going to cut this out, and we'll jump forward to when it's sitting in the hole. All right, the panel fits in. Now that we've done our first round of rough cuts, it sits nice and flush in this corner. It's sitting nice in that rounded area. It's sitting down up here. Ignore the roughness of this. It was cut with a pair of hand shears because we're not worried about fine tuning yet. Up here, we've still got, a good chunk of material we've got to cut back. Our main goal right now is getting these compound curves in here fitting nice and tight, which we are succeeding in doing. So it's a beautiful thing. It fits nice and tight all the way out to the door and all the way up and along the side. So now we can get to the point where we're starting to fine tune stuff, right? So now that it fits in our hole, we can go underneath the truck and we can tweak that guideline we made before. A simple shot of brake clean, which is readily available anywhere. If you guys have mineral spirits, it's the best because it doesn't leave anything behind. Brake cleaner does a good job, or lacquer thinner gets that paint pen right up. So I use brake cleaner because I can just squirt it on a rag, wipe it off like Windex on a dry erase board, and I can make my next guideline. So we're gonna continue nipping away at this just like we did in the first two steps with this and going underneath and checking. And you always just take a little bit of material until it's real close to falling into the hole. At that point, we're gonna cut it in, which is taking one of these cutoff wheels, and you're gonna cut along the edge of where your two pieces join, and then your gap is the thickness of this cutoff wheel, which is perfect for your panel clamp that holds the two sheets even with each other. It's perfect for this to work, and it's a perfect width for you to use your MIG. Everyone can get access to a MIG. A MIG is probably one of the easiest welders to learn how to do. And then the important thing is you're gonna weld a little bit, and then you're going to move over here, and you're gonna weld a little bit, and you're gonna move again, and you might go over here. You need to keep moving to keep the heat down. Heat equals warpage. Warpage is bad. So you got to, that's the part that takes forever with these projects, is the actual welding. So I'm not going to bore you guys with the actual welding, but right now let's head underneath, take a look at our fit from the bottom side, see if we need to make any adjustments and make our next cuts. All right, so we're back underneath. As you can see, our guideline looks really good. It may not go that way for you. I can't claim all the credit. I'm not going to sit here and say it's because I've been doing it a while, because man, sometimes they just don't line up like this. So with that being said, our guideline's super good, even over here on our standout for our dimmer switch. Everywhere it's actually looking really good. So what I'm going to do is just double check it all the way around, really close, eyeball it, and if it still looks good, which it does, I'm going to take it back out and I'm going to trim more by hand off of our new panel, and I'm going to set it back down in there. And I may have to do this 2 or 3 times, so I'm not going to bore you guys by going in and out with the panel and doing it over and over. Just know that off camera, that's honestly all I'm doing, is just test fitting it over and over again. You may have to do it 3 or 4 times. You may get lucky and do it once or twice. If you do, good job. You nailed it. So I'm going to keep doing that. I'm going to get this trimmed down, and then we're going to get it final fit so that you guys can see what that looks like. And then all I've got left is to weld this thing in, or at least start welding it, so I can talk you guys through that. But that's going to be for another video. So I hope you guys understand basically what I'm putting down. Hopefully it makes sense to you. If you've got any questions or comments, please leave them. I do respond. I do talk to people. I do enjoy talking to you guys. I hope you enjoy the videos. I hope I don't bore you too much. So that's the basics of fitting an aftermarket panel that technically doesn't go to this truck in a vehicle. And you end up with a solid repair when it's all done, but I'll walk you through some of the finer points in probably a much shorter video on the next run. So hope you guys enjoyed, and keep watching. Please subscribe, tell your friends. Hopefully you're learning something, and hopefully I'm helping on some of these future projects. If there's anything you want to learn how to do in the fab world or mechanic world, I am a 30-year mechanic. I would be happy to show you guys anything that I know. So thanks for watching. Please hit that like button. It helps me keep going. We'll talk to you guys soon. Tomorrow is racetrack day.